Margot stopped kicking her feet as the ominous gray shapes flashed into her peripheral view. Long, tawny hair floated past her head as her feet dropped below her slim, brightly clad body. She took a deep breath and floated slightly upward. A hint of fear crept into her mind as she turned toward 3 gray, sleek predators cruising just inside the limit of her vision, about 25 meters away. A gentle touch on her shoulder startled her. She turned to see Alex Regent tapping the depth reading on his dive console with his index finger. Margot reached down and grasped her console, turning it so she could read her depth. 25 meters. She had drifted upward 5 meters since seeing the sharks. Margot exhaled angrily and let some air out of her breathing bag. She knew better than to lose track of her depth. Out there, her life depended on a constant awareness of exactly how deep she was. Together, she and Alex sank back to 30 meters. Off to their right, the 3 gray shapes drifted with them. Would she ever get used to it, she thought, as she released a bit of air into her bag to stop her descent. "Alex," she said. There was no response. "Alex!" She tapped the back of her console several times. "Alex!" Nothing but silence. Alex placed himself in front of Margot and looked into her face mask. With his right hand, he formed a circle with thumb and forefinger. His 3 other fingers extended straight up. Margot returned the sign indicating she was all right, while nodding vigorously. Then she pointed to her ear and lifted her console, tapping the back. Alex fumbled at his ear, and then tapped his console, and then shook his head. Great, Margot thought. FCOM is busted, just when we really need it. Not busted, she corrected herself. Just a submerged antenna. She pointed to the 3 menacing shapes off to her right. Alex turned and scanned around them. Above and just behind them, the blue-painted hull of their boat bobbed in the gentle waves. About 20 meters ahead of them hung a smooth, horizontal fluorescent orange tube about 1 meter in diameter. To the left, it stretched into the gloom. To the right, it angled downward. The fluorescent tube was attached to a slender cable angling up to the shadow of a buoy just beneath the surface to their right. Alex turned back toward Margot, making an exaggerated shrug. Margot reached for her dive console again and pressed a button located prominently on its face. The 3 sharks turned and commenced a meandering movement toward the 2 divers. Their front fins extended stiffly downward at about 45 degrees. Their backs arched slightly, and their blunt snouts moved back and forth as they approached. Margot felt her hair stand up on the nape of her neck. She turned to Alex and motioned him to her side. Alex withdrew a telescoped baton from its holder at his waist and extended it to its full 1.5-meter length. He checked the safety lever near its handle, and with his thumb he flicked the lever so it pointed forward. As the sharks drew nearer, he held the stick out in front of him, pointed in their direction. Margot glanced around them again and pushed her console button once more. Alex waved the stick about slowly, and then steadied up on the nearest of the 3 menacing monsters. Suddenly, with blurring speed, the nearest shark attacked. Alex struck out with his stick, the jolt of its impact rocking him backwards. A sharp crack was followed by a hissing sound as carbon dioxide rushed into the shark's body. In the same moment, flashes of silvery black streaked from several directions. One of the remaining sharks was struck broadside by a dolphin's blunt nose. In a flash, it disappeared. The animal Alex had injected rolled on its side and began a crazed, uncontrolled spiral toward the surface 30 meters above them. On its way up, it was hit several times by charging dolphins. It expired of massive embolisms before reaching 15 meters. In the melee, the 3rd shark vanished. Margot reached out for Alex, grabbed a handful of breathing bag, and pulled him close to her. She placed the flat of her full face mask against his and looked deeply into his eyes, as close to a kiss as she could come under the circumstances. Even down here, they were deep blue. Several bubbles escaped from the positive pressure maintained inside their masks and shimmered their way toward the surface, expanding rapidly as they rose. Like an old-time scuba diver, Margot thought, watching the rising silvery spheres. Instinctively, she checked the volume in her breathing bag and glanced at the gauge on her tiny, ultra-high-pressure air flask. She found she was holding her breath, and as she felt the need to breathe, a gentle pressure developed against her back. She pulled back and turned to confront a 2.5-meter-long dolphin nudging her from behind. It was one of 4 that had responded to her sonic signal, George, her favorite. The other 3 dolphins crowded in around the neoprene and nylon-suited divers, jostling each other for attention. Margot rubbed the head dome of each and indicated to Alex that he should do the same. Then the 2 of them turned their attention back to the tube suspended in front of them.